All right, so let's unpack this for a second. We are taking um, essentially the most important, probably the most emotionally complex day of a person's entire life, right? And we are compressing that down into less than a minute,
Yeah, often. Way less than a minute, like 30 seconds.
which is just wild to think about. I mean, how did we even get here? And how does it actually work? Because up until, I don't know, a few years ago, capturing a milestone event like this meant setting up a really heavy camera on a tripod.
Right, in the very back of the ring.
Exactly, just
Yeah.
sticking it in the back of the church and letting it roll for like 3 hours straight. But now we're in this era where the entire narrative of a marriage is mathematically engineered, basically, to fit into a 15 to 60-second vertical video.
It really is a complete rewiring of the way we document our own histories.
Hmm.
I mean, we are no longer just capturing memories to store them away in a drawer somewhere.
Yeah.
We're actually restructuring the memories themselves to conform to the demands of social media platforms. Like the way a videographer frames a shot, or the way an editor cuts the footage, even the way a couple acts during their own reception.
Wait, really? It affects how they act.
Oh, absolutely. All of it is being optimized in real time for platforms like TikTok and Instagram.
That is just fascinating. So, to really understand the mechanics of this massive shift, we are doing a deep dive today into a really comprehensive strategic breakdown of short-form wedding media. We've got sources detailing the platform-specific insights, especially looking at how the modern wedding planning site, Weddizer, is handling this.
What is actually a perfect example to look at for this, yeah?
Yeah, their platform is a huge part of our mission today. We are going to explore the psychology behind the algorithms driving this change. We want to decode this highly specific, basically viral formula of modern romance.
Because there is absolutely a formula.
Totally. And we'll examine how you, as a listener, can navigate platforms like Weddizer to expertly hire and plan media for your own events. We're going to talk about how they turn everyday couples into, like, educated digital directors.
I love that phrasing, digital directors. Because the transition from the traditional wedding album to the short-form highlight reel, it represents a really fundamental shift in the whole concept of the archive.
How do you mean?
Well, historically, wedding media was all about preservation for the family unit, right? A traditional photographer captured every single relative, every table setting, every mundane moment during the dinner.
The centerpieces, the napkin rings, all of it.
Exactly. Because the goal was a complete, unedited historical record as a private archive.
Like a heavy, dusty, leather-bound book sitting on a coffee table.
Yeah.
Or, a VHS tape that you maybe pulled out on an anniversary once a decade.
Right. It was static.
Yeah, it required real intent to view it. You had to sit down and decide to engage with it.
Exactly. It was media designed to be consumed privately, usually by people who already had a deep, existing emotional connection to the subjects. But the digital landscape has just completely transformed that dynamic.
Flipped it on its head.
It really has. The shift toward short-form vertical video is essentially a shift from private archiving to instant public broadcasting.
Public broadcasting.
Yeah, you're no longer just documenting the day for your grandchildren. You're broadcasting this hyper-curated aesthetic to an audience of literal strangers.
Which, if you're broadcasting to strangers, that introduces the algorithm as basically the ultimate editor, because you're at the mercy of systems designed to maximize watch time, right?
Yes, the platforms prioritizing this content, they all operate on retention metrics. They measure precisely how long a user lingers on a video before swiping away.
Down to the millisecond.
Down to the millisecond.
Yeah.
They track whether they watch it twice, whether they share it. A 2-hour documentary of a wedding ceremony has zero utility in that ecosystem. It just doesn't work.
Nobody is scrolling TikTok and stopping to watch an uncle give a 45-minute toast.
No, of course not. The algorithm requires content that loops. It demands immediate engagement. And that fundamentally changes how these videos are structurally built from the ground up.
Oh, wait, let me just push back on this for a second. Are we sacrificing the real essence of the day just to cater to an algorithm? I mean, a marriage is supposed to be this lifelong commitment, this profoundly serious transition. Is 15 seconds really enough to capture that gravity?
It's a fair question.
It just feels like we might be losing the nuance of the human experience just to make sure, like, a teenager on Instagram doesn't swipe past it,
Well, that tension is exactly why this format has become so highly engineered. Because to convey the gravity of a lifelong commitment in 15 seconds, you cannot just throw random clips together.
Right. You can't just hope for the best.
No, you have to rely on a very strict technical anatomy. The emotional weight isn't derived from the length of the video anymore. It's manufactured through intense sensory compression.
Intense sensory compression. Okay, let's get into that anatomy because the technical constraints you're talking about are incredibly specific in the source material. The sweet spot for these reels is strictly 15 to 60 seconds.
Yep.
And visually, we are talking almost exclusively about a 9.16 vertical aspect ratio.
Right, and honestly, the 9.16 aspect ratio is arguably the most significant visual shift in modern media.
Really? More than high definition or anything like that.
I would argue yes, in terms of how it changes storytelling. Think about traditional cinema, right? The 16.9 widescreen format. It's designed to capture the environment. It gives the viewer context.
Okay, yeah, like sweeping landscape shots.
Exactly. You see the massive architecture of the church, the entire bridal party standing together, the landscape of the venue. The widescreen format situates the human subjects within a broader world.
It breathes. You actually have room to look around the frame and see what's happening in the background.
Right, but 9.16 vertical video acts like horse blinders.
Oh, that's a good way to put it.
It forcibly removes your peripheral vision. By cropping out all that environmental context, the format forces a hyperfocus entirely on the human subject. It is intimate, almost claustrophobic in a way.
Because you aren't looking at the majestic church anymore.
No, you are looking exclusively at, like, the tear falling down the groom's cheek. It elevates the human emotional reaction above absolutely all other visual information.
That makes total sense. It is literally narrowing our field of vision to just the pure emotion, which I guess explains why these videos feel so intense despite being so incredibly short.
Exactly.
You are cutting out everything that isn't a peak emotional spike.
And fitting all of those spikes, the first look, the vows, the first dance, fitting all of that into a 30 to 45-second window requires a relentless pace. Every single frame has to justify its existence.
Think about the narrative mechanics of that, though. In traditional storytelling, like a movie, you have time to establish the setting. You slowly introduce the characters, you build the anticipation, deliver the climax, and then fade out into a resolution.
A standard narrative arc.
Right. But in a vertical reel, you are attempting to execute that entire narrative arc in the time it takes to tie your shoes.
Which is why traditional editing techniques just no longer apply. You cannot let a shot linger to let the audience absorb the moment. You have to propel the viewer forward using fast-paced cuts and really sharp transitions.
Yeah.
And the structural skeleton holding all of those rapid cuts together is the audio.
Oh, the audio. That's a huge point in the source material. The audio feels like the true dictator of this whole format.
It really is.
Because it is never just ambient sound from the room anymore, right? It's the mandatory use of trending music and highly specific sound effects.
Right. In a standard documentary or an older traditional wedding film, the editor lays down the visual sequence first. They build the visual story, and then they score it with background music to enhance the mood.
Right. The music supports the video.
Exactly. But short-form vertical video
Mm-hmm.
inverts that process entirely.
The audio comes first.
The music is the foundation. An editor will literally find a 30-second audio track. First, maybe a trending pop song with a really specific beat drop, or an atmospheric instrumental with a huge crescendo.
Right.
They drop that waveform onto the timeline, and they mathematically slice the video to match the audio.
So like the bride's dress swooshes exactly on the snare hit.
Exactly.
The first kiss lands on the exact millisecond of the beat drop. That's wild. It is choreographing memory to fit a pre-existing viral soundscape.
And it creates this sense of profound visual satisfaction for the viewer. When the visual action synchronizes perfectly with the audio cues, it triggers a literal dopamine release.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the brain just loves pattern recognition and synchronization. That is how you keep a stranger watching a video of people they don't even know.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting to me looking at the source text. Because these videos are so intensely optimized to capture attention, they transcend their original purpose as just personal keepsakes.
Absolutely.
The text actually explicitly refers to them as powerful marketing tools.
A wedding as a high-conversion digital asset.
It is so wild to think about a marriage celebration using corporate marketing language.
I know, it really is.
But it's true. The couple is marketing their aesthetic, their personal brand to their digital community. Meanwhile, the vendors, the photographers, the florists, the venue coordinators, they're using the couple's most intimate moments as a rapid-fire portfolio to secure their next booking.
And that completely changes the stakes of the media being produced.
Yeah.
If the end product is a highly engineered marketing tool optimized for algorithmic retention, relying on a strict vertical ratio, and edited to the millisecond to match trending audio, well, the skill set required to produce that changes dramatically.
You definitely cannot just hire someone who takes nice photos and expect them to deliver
No,
this.
not at all.
A traditional wedding photographer might be an absolute master of composition and lighting. They might take breathtaking, static portraits. That doesn't mean they understand the vocabulary of a fast-paced TikTok transition.
Right. It is a completely different discipline. It's essentially the difference between hiring a brilliant still life painter and a brilliant motion graphics animator.
Oh, that's a great analogy.
You need a specialist. You need someone who shoots vertically natively, someone who's already visualizing the final 30-second audio-synced cut while they're standing in the room filming the live event.
Which brings us perfectly to the modern ecosystem that has evolved to solve this exact problem. Because if couples need these hyper-specialized digital directors rather than just traditional photographers, how do they actually find them?
Right. That's the big question.
And this is where platforms like Weddizer come into play. They are fundamentally re-architecting the entire hiring process for this industry.
The platform dynamic there is fascinating because it addresses the core friction in the current market.
Hmm.
The demand for this short-form, trend-driven content has vastly outpaced the general vendor pool's ability to actually supply it.
Exactly, because if you just open a standard directory or, Google local videographers, you are flying blind.
Completely blind.
You might hire someone with a really great portfolio of 5-minute cinematic films, but then they hand you a vertical reel that just feels clunky or poorly paced or awkwardly cut. You need a way to filter specifically for these specialists.
Yes.
And Wedizer's business section is built specifically for that specialized hiring. This new format. But, and I think this is a crucial point, the directory itself isn't even the most powerful part of the platform.
No, it's really not. The directory is just the endpoint of the process. If we connect this to the bigger picture, the true mechanism for changing the industry lies in how the platform educates the consumer before they ever even reach out to a vendor.
Yes, the article section. I
Exactly.
really want to guide everyone listening to this because this is the hidden gem of the whole Weddizer platform. It isn't just a place to hire people. The text specifically points out that it offers all these valuable articles filled with ideas, tips, and trends. It is an educational hub.
Think about the psychological journey of a couple planning an event today. They know they want their content to look like what they see on their own social media feeds, right?
Right, they see a cool TikTok and say, I want that.
But they lack the technical vocabulary to communicate that desire to a professional. They don't know the difference between, say, direct flash editorial photography and natural light documentary style.
They just know they want it to look cool or cinematic. And if you just tell a vendor you want something to look cool, you are going to get whatever their specific definition of cool is, not yours.
Exactly. And the article section bridges that gap perfectly. By providing these deep dives into specific niches, trends, and lighting techniques, the platform acts as an incubator for the modern consumer.
Right.
A couple-reason article breaking down the mechanics of low-light reception coverage, or maybe the pacing of a documentary-style transition reel. And they actually learn the terminology.
It's essentially like having a digital wedding planner and a media production school right in your pocket. You figure out your specific aesthetic niche through the articles, and suddenly you are empowered.
You know exactly what to ask for.
Right. When you click over to the business section to finally hire someone, you are no longer just asking for a generic wedding video. You are asking for a specialist in high contrast, direct flash, short form storytelling.
And you know exactly what questions to ask during the interview process. You can ask the vendor how they approach audio synchronization or what their turnaround time is for a 24-hour sneak peek reel.
It streamlines the entire planning journey, literally from creative inspiration straight through to vendor selection on the same site. You learn the what and the how in the articles section, and then you find the who in the business section.
Which creates this really powerful quality feedback loop. The platform educates the couple then demands higher quality, trend-aware content using precise vocabulary, and then the vendors listed in the business section must elevate their own skills and specialize to meet that educated demand.
Right.
It means the overall quality of the market naturally rises.
So, okay, if you have this highly educated consumer and this really rigid 9.16 vertical frame with a 30-second time limit, what do you actually put inside that frame? Like, how are couples expressing their unique personalities within such a strict mathematical formula?
That's where we're seeing distinct stylistic pillars emerge. Because the format is so incredibly brief, a single video just cannot capture every mood of a wedding.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You cannot be romantic and hilarious and totally relatable all at the exact same time in 15 seconds. So the content naturally fractures into specific genres. The source outlines four main ones.
Right, the four pillars of trend-driven content. The first major genre they mention is the cinematic love story. This is the hyper-polished, emotionally heavy narrative, right?
Yes, it is basically the evolution of the traditional highlight film, just compressed down into a micro format. It relies really heavily on slow motion, high-definition visuals, dramatic lighting, and incredibly slick transitions.
Very moody.
Very moody. The goal is to evoke awe. It presents the couple not just as everyday people, but almost as untouchable protagonists in a high-budget romance film.
But that hyper-polished look creates a bit of a problem, though, doesn't it? Because audiences on social media, they get exhausted by perfection. If everything on your feed is slow motion and flawless, it starts to feel manufactured.
It starts to feel like an advertisement,
Exactly. It feels like a commercial rather than a human event.
which necessitates the second genre,
Mm.
the behind-the-scenes reel.
Hmm.
This is a direct response to that fatigue of perfection. Audiences today have developed a highly sophisticated radar for anything that feels too curated.
Right.
They crave authenticity. Or, honestly, more accurately, they crave the performance of
A
authenticity.
performance of authenticity. That is such a fascinating way to put it. Because by showing the bride sitting in a messy hotel room with hair rollers in, or, the groom struggling to figure out how to fold a pocket square, it grounds the glamour.
It signals to the viewer, look, we are real, relatable people behind all this cinematic perfection. It provides a really necessary counterbalance.
Yeah.
Counterintuitively, showing the messy behind-the-scenes preparation actually makes the polished final look more impressive to the viewer because the audience feels like they were led in on the secret of how the illusion was created.
Oh, that's such a good point. You get to see the work that went into it. Okay, so then you have the third pillar, the fun and viral moments. This is the candid bloopers, the groomsman doing a backflip on the dance floor, the flower girl running the wrong way down the aisle.
Right, exactly.
If the cinematic reel is designed to gather likes based on aesthetics, this viral moment reel is designed to gather shares based on humor.
And humor is the core currency of rapid content distribution. A stranger in another country might not care about your beautifully lit first dance, right?
No, why would they?
But they will absolutely send a video of a catastrophic cake-cutting fail to their group chat.
Oh, totally. We've all done it.
These micro-narratives basically break the algorithm wide open because they rely on universal physical comedy or surprise rather than requiring the viewer to have an emotional investment in the couple.
Right. It's just pure entertainment at that point. And finally, the fourth pillar, the before and after transformations. This transition format is just so native to short form video. It's the classic, a hand covers the camera lens or someone snaps their fingers and they instantly jump from sweatpants in the morning to a full tuxedo at the altar.
It is the ultimate distillation of a storytelling arc. You have a beginning, a middle, and an end, and the whole thing is accomplished in literally 2 seconds. It provides immediate, deeply satisfying visual gratification.
But, and I couldn't help but think about this while reading the source material, look at the incredible pressure this places on the couple.
It's immense.
I mean, we are asking them to be glamorous, untouchable movie stars for the cinematic reel. Then we need them to be relatable, self-deprecating reality stars for the behind-the-scenes reel. We expect them to be spontaneous comedians for the viral blooper reel. And on top of all that, they have to be precise lifestyle influencers to nail the physical choreography of the before and after transition.
All while actively participating in, a major life milestone.
It's insane. Imagine trying to curate all those different vibes in a single afternoon. You are getting ready to literally walk down the aisle and get married, and a director is whispering in your ear, okay, guys, we need to get the relatable messy shot first, then look deeply into each other's eyes for the cinematic slow-mo, and whatever you do, don't forget to cover the lens exactly on the downbeat for the transition shot.
It really speaks to the fragmentation of digital identity. We are no longer permitted to just experience an event as a singular version of ourselves. We are essentially expected to act as multidimensional content creators, constantly producing different variations of our own lives for different algorithmic appetites.
Wow. Yeah, different variations of our own lives. That's heavy. And what's crazy is that people are treating the distribution of this content with the exact same tactical precision as launching a tech startup.
Oh, the optimization strategies are incredibly clinical.
Yeah, let's talk about the science of virality and SEO for romance because the text literally provides a step-by-step guide for this. How do you actually get this highly choreographed media seen by the masses?
Well, we are seeing couples and vendors applying rigorous search engine optimization, or SEO, to personal romance.
Which sounds like an oxymoron. SEO for romance.
Right. But they are doing it. They're using trending hashtags. They're analyzing platform data to post at peak engagement times. They're deliberately keeping captions mathematically short so they don't get truncated by the app interface. And they're heavily utilizing text overlays.
Okay, I wanted to ask you about that. Why are text overlays so critical? Because you see them on every single viral video now.
A text overlay, meaning the words physically typed onto the video itself, serves a couple of really vital purposes. First, it immediately hooks the viewer who is scrolling with their sound off.
Right, which is a lot of people.
Exactly. It provides context before they even hear the audio. But second, and more importantly, the platforms actively read the text on the screen to categorize the video.
Wait, the algorithm reads the words on the video itself.
Yes, if you type POV, you married your best friend on the screen, the algorithm instantly knows exactly who to serve that video to. It is metadata embedded directly into the visual field.
That is wild. The text even highlights this specific phrase, social media wedding marketing. It's now a standard industry term. The event itself is just becoming the raw material for a sophisticated digital marketing campaign.
You are literally studying the metrics of engagement to ensure your personal life yields the highest possible digital dividend.
There is a detail in the strategic breakdowns of these videos that just completely blew my mind. When teaching vendors how to upload this content to platforms like YouTube Shorts, the source material explicitly instructs them to use high CTR titles.
Click-through rate?
Exactly, click-through rate. You are A/B testing the title of your wedding video to see which variation gets a higher click-through rate from absolute strangers. So you're using how to create viral wedding highlight reels instead of just naming it Sarah and John's special day.
You are optimizing your love story for a metric.
It's optimizing a wedding like launching a startup. And to achieve those metrics, the creators of this content are totally abandoning traditional boundaries. They can't afford to operate in a silo anymore, just studying other wedding videographers.
No, they have to become aggressive students of the entire digital landscape.
Right. I laughed so hard when I noticed this in the text, but when looking at the educational resources out there, you will find tutorials on shooting wedding reels that actively credit and pull techniques from completely unrelated fields. The text specifically features a YouTube video credit for a headshot photography tutorial by this creator named Shoot with Ray.
That cross-pollination makes perfect sense when you really understand the constraints of the format, though.
Really? Because to me it seems so quirky. How does a corporate headshot tutorial apply to a fast-paced vertical wedding reel?
Think about what a headshot photographer actually does. They are a master of creating immediate impact in a single static frame. They know exactly how to light a face to convey authority or warmth or joy instantly without the benefit of any background context.
Oh, wow. Because they don't have a background, it's just a gray screen or whatever.
Exactly. So if a vertical wedding reel is essentially just a rapid-fire sequence of isolated context-free portraits, because remember, we cropped out the background with a 9.16 aspect ratio, then the videographer desperately needs the skills of a headshot photographer.
Yeah.
They need to ensure every single split-second cut is visually arresting on its own.
That makes so much sense now. So they are scraping techniques from corporate headshots, they're pulling pacing tricks from music video directors, getting lighting setups from beauty influencers, and copying transition trends from fashion creators.
Yes, they're synthesizing all these different disciplines to deliver that perfect, algorithm-pleasing dopamine hit.
It's all cross-pollinating. Which brings us back to why a platform like Weddizer is so revolutionary right now, because navigating that synthesis is incredibly difficult.
It is. The paradigm has fundamentally and irreversibly shifted. Embracing short-form, highly optimized media is no longer an optional add-on for a modern event. It is the central architectural framework around which the event is built.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? Whether you are planning an event, working as a vendor, or just kind of an observer of digital culture, I think we've gone on quite a journey today uncovering all this.
We really have.
We have traced this massive evolution of the memory archive. We've gone from a private, 3-hour documentary sitting on a shelf, all the way to a highly public 9.16 vertical broadcast optimized for global retention algorithms.
And we really dug into how the anatomy of these videos requires removing that peripheral context to heighten emotional intimacy, and how the audio track dictates the mathematical pacing of the visual cuts.
Yeah, the audio-first editing was huge, and we've seen how the market is adapting to this. Platforms like Weddizer are crucial because they recognize that this shift requires a totally new type of consumer education.
By providing that deep, specialized knowledge in their article section, they transform a couple from passive participants into empowered digital directors.
Exactly. You read the article, you learn the niche, and then you are ready to navigate their business section and hire the exact specialist you need. So if you have an event coming up or a business to promote, you are no longer flying blind. The tools are out there. The formulas are out there.
You know the exact 30 to 45-second sweet spot.
You know the 4 pillars of content to hit. You understand the tension between that cinematic polish and the behind-the-scenes authenticity. You literally have the blueprint to navigate the modern ecosystem.
But, as we close today, there is a broader implication to all of this that I think is really worth reflecting on.
Yeah.
We have spent this time dissecting the mechanics of how we capture these moments today, right? The technical aspects. But if we project this forward, if our most cherished intimate memories are increasingly being shot and paced and edited specifically to please social media algorithms and capture the fleeting attention of strangers, how will future generations perceive what love and celebration actually look like in our era?
Oh, wow.
When they look back at our digital archives, will they understand the real nuance of our relationships? Or will they think we lived our entire lives in 15-second intervals of fast-paced transitions and trending audio?
That is a deeply fascinating thought to leave on. Are we editing out the quiet, unoptimized moments of our own history just to secure a higher click-through rate? Lots to think about there. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We will see you next time.